Hey everybody, it's Tony George from Dog Sports along with my good buddy Scott Spreitzer, and we're talking Super Bowl.
Yeah.
The AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs, a 1-point favorite over the NFC champions San Francisco 49ers, both with dominating performances. Of course, Kansas City had to come from behind again, but ended up being a dominating performance. And we're talking to you not about the game, not about the side, not about the total, but where the real value lies in the Super Bowl, and that is prop betting. And we're going to have 300-400 prop bets out here in Las Vegas. You can find them anywhere, Scott. And we thought we'd give you a couple of inside tips on that. And my only point is tangible items, things that count that you can handicap. If you're talking about the coin toss to me, we're not friends anymore. I'm talking, or the Star Spangled Banner. I'm talking about rush yards, over and under for running backs, catching yards, receiving yards, throwing yards, touchdowns, sacks. There's a ton of tangible items here, Scott, that you can use a season worth of stats and even the last 5 games, most recent, that you can handicap, and you can find some real value in these prop betting wagers that you can make here and everywhere, actually.
Yeah, and also wanted to point out before we jump into the meat of this that we are going to have more Super Bowl videos next week, the week of the Super Bowl. We're going to be talking all kinds of stuff that pertains to the team, who we might think is going to be the MVP, all that good stuff. And also, we're going to talk maybe a little bit about the do's and don'ts of in-game betting next week. But as far as the do's and don'ts of props betting, and we'll have more props for you next week as they continue to come in. Something that I've been following, a major commandment of mine going all the way back to when props kind of started becoming a popular thing in the state of Nevada. We're talking in the early 90s, mid-90s. I was co-hosting the Stardust line back then at the Stardust Racing Sportsbook. And then on Thursday nights, myself and a long-time Vegas radio mainstay by the name of Seed Williams.
Oh, yeah.
We used to do Thursday nights at the Imperial Palace, a show. And Jay Cornegay of the Westgate Superbook was at the Imperial Palace back then. And he was the first one to put out all those wild and crazy props that the Nevada Gaming Control Board would allow, which means they had to be inside the box score at the end of the game to be able to be a prop play. Yeah. But he would still come up with 150 of them at the Imperial Palace on Thursday nights. And they'd get that big crowd that would come in looking for those props. But the number one in the do's and don'ts list, I'll tell you right now, do not bet props based on who you think is going to win the football game or where you think the total is going to go, whether it be over or under. It's the old don't put your eggs all in one basket motto. And here's why, because listen, we've all been wrong before. If you love Kansas City and you base all your props off of Kansas City winning this football game and they don't win, your props are probably going down the toilet with your ticket on the side. And same goes, man. If you like San Francisco, you put all your props on the 49ers, they don't win the football game or they don't come close to winning the football game, there goes all your tickets and all your money right down the old commode, as we say. So
the crapper.
What you want to do is find props that can come to fruition, that can cash tickets, whether your side is winning or not, whether the total is going the way you think it's going to go or not. And that's what I do. And so I come up usually with about half a dozen props every Super Bowl. Now, if you're out there for entertainment purposes, you're hanging out with your buddies, you're having a couple of cold beverages, and you just want to have some fun, by all means, bet it all. Coin toss. Whether there's a wardrobe malfunction.
Oh, by the
way, you're going to be watching with Shakira out there.
Wardrobe malfunction between J-Lo and Shakira. We're going to hire Justin Timberlake, Scott and I are to go out there to be in charge of the tops.
I'm all for Shakira being part of the halftime show. I just think she should be dancing to AC/DC or GNR or something.
There you go.
Oh, boy, I'm going to get myself in trouble for all this.
Yes,
but anyway, the bottom line is look for props that can happen no matter who's winning the football game. I'll give you one right now, Tony, that I've already jumped on, which was Kansas City's running back, Damian Williams, under 53.5 yards rushing. Shop around. By the way, it's another thing I almost forgot to mention. Shop around. Because you can actually arbitrage Super Bowl props once in a while. You can find a couple out there. If you've got one book that says plus 120 on one side, and on the other side of the bet you find another book that says plus 120, you've just guaranteed yourself a profit if you take on and bet both of those props. But you got to have a lot of books, so shop around. Anyway, under 53.5 rushing yards for Damian Williams. This can happen whether KC wins the football game or San Francisco wins the football game. He's had 29 carries in the playoffs. He's averaged 3.2 yards per carry. You know about the San Francisco defensive line. They've been outstanding facing, Dalvin Cook, 2 playoff games in the books, and they've allowed 3.5 yards per carry to the teams, to the opponent's top running back. So, and again, listen, Damian Williams, 3.2 yards per carry, first 2 playoff games, and yet they won both. So that just shows you he doesn't have to go crazy on the ground for KC to win or for San Francisco to win. I like him under 53.5 yards.
He may actually have more yards receiving out of the
Yeah.
backfield than he does running in this game. And if you take a look at most points scored by quarters here, I think the first quarter is going to be tight. We know what Kansas City has done in the second quarter.
Sure.
Their 2 playoff games here, and even the third quarter. The second quarter prop for most points scored per quarter is plus 160, and the third quarter, Scott, is plus 425 for the most points. And Andy Reid's good at halftime adjustments, and it may take a while for the Chiefs offense, and even with the improved Chiefs defense, the San Francisco offense to get going and a halftime adjustment, and you may see a higher scoring third quarter than any of them get tight late. So both those quarters were swinging a little bit on the money line, Scott.
Not bad, and I'll tell you what, if you take anything from this video, it's that Shakira's hips don't lie. He's Tony George, I'm Scott Spreitzer. Check out everything at DocSports.com, including more Super Bowl videos all week long leading up to the Super Bowl. Put them in the win column. We'll talk to you next week.